Hello, folks. It is Tuesday, March 23rd, and welcome to Uplifted. As we continue our study here on being effective and allowing the Spirit of God to work through us as we minister and serve, we are looking together in Romans chapter number 12. We're reading verses number 4 and 5, and we're going to look into Romans, 1 Corinthians chapter 12 here in just a minute. It says in Romans 12, verse 4, "For as we have many members in one body, and all members have not the same office." Saying what? That all individuals are not going to fulfill the same purpose. They don't have the same responsibilities and duties, and the same thing goes and applies to different areas of our life. You know, sometimes things happen in a church that cause dissension and difficulty and division among God's people and among the body, and it's very harmful to its effectiveness for Christ. Sometimes jealousy creeps in. Sometimes the fact that somebody else has a responsibility and you think that should be something you do. And the Bible's saying here that everybody does not function the same. Everybody doesn't have the same purpose, but everyone matters and everyone is important. In 1 Corinthians chapter number 12, I want to read to you starting with verse number 20. It says, "But now are they many members, yet but one body." So again, as I mentioned yesterday, that we have many functioning members of our body. And which one is the most important? Well, some would say, well, the brain, okay? And others would say the heart. Now, that brain without eyes and ears would not have the same liberality. That brain without the eyes and the ears would not have the same ability to function and acquire knowledge. You know, a brain would be nothing more than a supercomputer that had no programs, no data, nothing for it to function. It would remain empty. We need each other. Our brain needs our eyes need our brain, our nose and our smell, our senses. My head needs the feet, and the feet are a real help as it carries my body around. And of course, many parts of the body, many members, some areas don't seem as glamorous or as prestigious as others, but every one of them is important. And so we see here, he says in verse number 21, "And the eye cannot say unto the hand, I have no need of thee, nor the head to the feet, I have no need of you. Nay, much more, those members of the body which seem to be more feeble are necessary. And those members of the body which we think to be less honorable, upon these we bestow more abundant honor, and our uncomely parts have more abundant comeliness." And so I just think that illustration there in regards to us and how we function within the body, within the church, is essential for a believer to understand. One, that you matter. You might not be somebody who would get up and preach a sermon, even in the pastor's absence. You know, you might not be one that would fill in, but there are responsibilities and things that God has called you to. God has gifted you to fill a specific and an important role in that body. And every one of our church members at Faith Baptist is important and matters. But the real question is, are you fulfilling the role that God has called you to? Not just at the church, but in other areas of your life. Sometimes we can get so focused on what we're not asked to do, we don't fulfill what we ought to do. Or we think so much about what we don't have, abilities, talents, and so on, that we don't use what God has given us. It was said the other day in church by our guest speaker that folks often like to talk about what they would do if they got what they didn't have. So what would you do for missions? What would you do for the Lord if you received $1 million? And often we have lofty goals and dreams. But the truth is, if you're not doing anything with the $100 you have for missions or for the Lord, what makes you think you would do great things for the Lord with what you don't have? And so I think that's a great principle that we're taught, that we're supposed to take that which we have and do something for God with it. Reprioritizing, that we might be able to do more for Him. Reprioritizing our time, how we handle our finances. You know, I have choices through the day. If I have a $20 bill in my pocket, there's many different ways I could use it. I could go get a few coffees. I could get some lunch. I could do this. I could do that. But what other ways could I use that? I could use it to help the gospel get around the world. It's all about priorities, about what we have. Don't get so caught up about what you would do if you had something. What are you doing with what you have? And so we see as the body, we must not make excuses. You know, you have a bad knee. Well, I don't do that because my knee's sore. Well, what could you do? What could you? You might not go run a marathon, but you sure could get up off of the couch and do something. And so we're seeing here that we are vessels that God is doing a great work on, and God desires to use in a great way. So we have what he says, many members in one body. How does God want you to fit in? You know, sometimes we bring harm to the body. Something that's not functioning properly in our body will begin to do harm to the body and could eventually even destroy or kill the body. I sure hope and pray that you would never allow yourself to be used to do harm to the body that needs to function and make a difference in this old world that we live in. I sure hope that today's Bible study was uplifting to your heart. I pray that you take to heart some of the things that were said, and that you'll take advantage of what God has given you and use it eternally for the cause of Christ. Enjoy the song we've picked out for you.
All alone, I pressed on in life, waging war on all sin and strife. But now I lay it down and look for my prize. I'm going home to hear my Savior cry. You have run the race, you have fought the fight. There is waiting you a celestial prize. Welcome home, my child, you gave all your might. Now you'll live in peace in the land of light. Friend of mine, do not weep or cry, for I'm safe in my home on high, resting in the arms of my Savior's love. I'm at peace with God above. Yes, I've run the race, and I fought the fight. what mattered most in life when you get home. You'll want to hear him cry. You have run the race, you have fought the fight. There is waiting you a celestial prize. Welcome home, my child. You gave all your might. Now you'll live in peace in the land of light. Brother, now's the time to press for the prize.